What does Captain Foxy's Log Ride hide behind the scenes in FNAF Help Wanted 2? If you played the Curse of Dreadbear DLC from the first Help Wanted, you'll probably recognize this minigame to some extent. In this minigame, you'll be equipped with a Western-style blaster, and as you ride through a multitude of interesting scenes, targets must be shot at to accumulate points. You have limited time to complete each of these sections, and there are even hidden paths you can unlock by shooting the helpy cutouts throughout the level. In these areas where it appears we've escaped the Matrix, Jackamoon will appear and try to jump scare you. Targets must be hit in order to block his attacks, and after finishing the ride, your points will be tallied, either clearing the night or falling below the threshold and getting jump scared. Recap aside, let's jump back to the start and take a look at this minigame from another perspective. We'll start the ride in this room where Captain Foxy is standing, and after a brief dialogue, we pass through these giant wooden doors. This section of the ride is actually a small disconnected segment, and it doesn't directly lead anywhere. This is consistent with the rest of the level too, and by zooming out you can see that each area we score points in is blown apart like an unfinished puzzle. Of course, we have to get around this level somehow, and the way this is pulled off is pretty interesting. As our cart heads down this hill, you'll see from this angle that a black box will envelop the player completely during this transition. Our sweet ride then warps out of this tunnel, appearing in the following section of the level directly beside it. This remains consistent throughout the entire minigame, with the player warping every time we pass through a segment of the ride. This isn't the only time a barrier obstructs our view either, since the lights go out each time we complete a portion of the level or pass around certain corners. During this time, the barrier doesn't just fade in and out like before, but instead, your screen will be completely blocked as a gigantic barrier shrinks around you. This thing is seriously massive, but because it's solid black in appearance, we can only see it when it blocks our view of the map. Now, as I mentioned before, the standard path we navigate is only a part of the greater map here, and these hidden pathways can be accessed by hitting the helpy cutouts within the level. As you can see here, Jackamoon will make an appearance when we enter these locations, and his first appearance takes place in this hallway where he's hiding on top of the archway. When we pass through this small village area, we can move the camera to find Jackamoon floating behind these flat cutouts. As the player shoots the targets and passes by, he'll simply unload, reappearing in another location further ahead. This happens a few times in this area, and he can appear in different poses depending on which window he's occupying. In the following secret area, Jackamoon will appear in a room behind these giant saw blades, and he walks out of a tiny room after the giant door opens. Up close, we can see that the area he spawns in is just a tiny gray room with some AR particle effects floating in front of it. When the player gets close, the door will open up as Jackamoon appears inside, walking out towards you as they pass through this AR world-inspired room. The door will close after you shoot the target, but this enemy does not stop immediately. They'll actually reach the door before realizing they've been bamboozled and then unload out of sheer spite. Up ahead, we'll come to another set of doors, and on either side of us are two more doorways that Jackamoon can attack from. Both doors will open individually at first, allowing the player to shoot the targets as our enemy approaches from inside. After this, both doors will open at the same time, but Jackamoon can only appear on one side. On the right side, we'll watch as the spooky daycare attendant spawns in just kind of floating in midair. When he leaves the room, he does not walk, but instead swims through the air majestically. Once the swimming animation reaches the door, he'll unload like we saw earlier, and the door on the opposite side will open. The animation here is mostly the same, although I realized at this point that I could fire my hand cannon at a regular speed despite the game being in bullet time. That means I was able to fire dozens of them before any of them unloaded. So the room was full of these neon pink spheres. As we continue forward, Jackamoon will make another appearance at the end of this long hallway, dropping from the ceiling and dancing in front of these gravestones as we slowly approach him. If we turn the light on in time, he'll be blinded, flying up through a vent and out of our sight. From another angle, we can watch this animation taking place, and as soon as the light is turned on, Jackamoon will immediately cover his eyes. After a moment, he'll lean forward, quickly flying straight up and into the vent above as he unloads. It almost looks like something quickly grabbed him and dragged him out of the map, which is both funny and terrifying. If you've managed to get through all these locations without scoring enough points, you'll face the wrath of Captain Foxy once the ride has finished. Of course, we can watch this jump scare in bullet time, and I can confidently say my timbers are shivered. That being said, I had an idea on how to break this minigame, and it went about as well as you'd expect. I warped the player away from our usual mode of transport, but even though we're outside the ride, the player will still move along the same designated path. Because of this, I clipped straight through a wall and outside the map, where I could see the ride still moving along on the track. Because I wasn't inside the map, my ammunition was just bouncing off the walls, so I couldn't hit any of the targets. I passed through the walls way more than I expected, popping in and out of the map on several occasions, but never in a position where I could score some points. What's cool is that from this perspective, you can see a lot of stuff happening out of bounds that usually goes unseen, like how the map loads and unloads around you while moving through the level. As cool as this is, it's super disorienting swinging around out here, and I'd much prefer to be inside the map instead.